Howdy, folks. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. If you're in the U.S. and just finished celebrating Thanksgiving, you're probably just waking up from a turkey hangover. And if you're not from the U.S., you're probably wondering, how on earth do these Americans eat so much food on a single day? Well, have you looked at us recently? It's not really a big stretch for us. We have contests to see how much food we can stuff into our mouths. Anyway, today's a special edition of Social Media News Live. A couple weeks ago, I had my good friend Peg Fitzpatrick on the show talking about her new book, The Art of Small Business Social Media. This is a great book, by the way. If you haven't read it, you need to go out and get your copy. Get it on hardback or get it on Kindle. They're both great. Plus, if you have any entrepreneurs or business owners in the family, this would be a great Christmas gift. Just saying. Peg, as always, when she was on the show, was an incredible guest, and if you missed it, make sure you check out the replay on YouTube or listen to it as a podcast. Later on in the week, Peg turned the tables and had me on her Instagram live show where she asked me all about storytelling, which is one of my favorite subjects. It turned into a great conversation that I think a lot of you will really enjoy and get a lot out of. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this special edition on storytelling for small business.
Hello, everybody. I am Peg Fitzpatrick, and this is my friend Jeff C., and we are going to talk about storytelling for small businesses. This is the pop-up social media success series that I've been doing. I think this is number 7. I have one more to go. So, hello, Jeff. Thank you for coming to my pop-up.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I'm excited to be here. You're like doing this whirlwind tour for your book. I'm so excited to be a part of it.
Oh, man. It feels like it's been going on forever, and then today is just like, what? Well, today feels like extra stressful. Here's the book, everybody.
And I was
if you haven't seen it yet.
I was so blown away because you sent me a copy that came yesterday, and I did not know that you mentioned me in the not the forward, the acknowledgments. I appreciate that. I did not was not expecting that, but you highlighted my name, and that was really cool. Thank you for doing that. I'm very honored. I showed it off to Jody last night, going, "Look what she did." So
you're
really
welcome.
Cool.
Well, you listened to me talk about it way back in the little baby stages when it wasn't even. I was like, should I write it? Shouldn't I write? I'm gonna write it. Well, no, I'm gonna not. I put it on pause. I'm working on my novel. No, I did a screenplay. Like I've done like a lot of things in the middle here, but this was, I really did want to get this out into the world, and I do thank you for your help and for listening. And I do like to highlight and show people it's in there because everybody doesn't always read the acknowledgments.
It was. It was a good idea. I thought you just sent me the marker because it's like, oh, cool, mark it up. And I thought that was fun. And then I opened it up and I saw that you had done that, and also all the cool stickers that came with it. So that was really fun. And Jody even looked at it and went, "Oh my gosh, that's really thick." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's Peg."
I made it in Canva.
Yeah.
And I printed those in Canva too, by the way.
That's cool. Very cool.
And did you like the Canva little Canva sticker?
Yeah, I thought they were cool. I really liked the something about it was the marketing thing that it was like, marketing is not an option kind of.
Yeah.
I thought that was really clever. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So now back to what we're here for you guys. I sound echoey. Does it sound echoey to you?
Sounds good to me.
Ooh, maybe it's just my mic. I'm not going to touch my mic. I'm using my Yeti mic, which everyone advises against, but here I am using my Yeti mic.
It sounds good to me.
My uncool Yeti mic, even though I have a Shure mic, but the Shure mic is so long, it does not fit in front of my computer, so I never use that one.
You need an arm like this. You can have it right.
I do need an arm, but then I was like, do I really? I don't think I do. So we're going to get on to our topic here, which is storytelling for social success, crafting visual stories that connect. So Jeff, you are a master of storytelling and visual marketing. What drew you to this creative approach for connecting with audiences?
I think it all started, you both and I are theater nerds and kids, and so
totally.
I think it all started when when we started doing stuff when I did it in junior high and high school, is that I realized people don't just remember facts, they remember how you make them feel. So I always loved a good story, whether it's a campfire tale my dad would spin when we go camping, or a funny meme with a punchline that makes you kind of maybe laugh, snort your coffee in the morning if you see something going through. In fact, that's what my kids, most of our conversations is like funny dog and cat videos that they send back and forth. So I think storytelling and visuals work, what did you used to say, like peanut butter and jelly for on social media?
Yeah, for Google Plus. I used to say Pinterest and Google Plus were like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, so it's almost like peanut butter and chocolate. Like I love Reese's. So it's delicious on their own, but magic when you put them together. I think it's the secret sauce for everything, for getting people to not just to see your content, but feel connected to it. And I think it's one of the things that brands kind of, or small businesses kind of go, I'm just going to put stuff out there, and they don't really think about the visual and the storytelling aspect to it.
It is. It's a challenge. So who are some of your favorite storytellers, and how have they influenced your perspective?
So I would say Walt Disney, hands down, because you think about one of the most creative companies out there, because he didn't just, talk about stories. He built entire worlds. And then Pixar, which was separate from that, but now is owned by Disney. Those people can make you cry over a lamp. Remember their lamp that they first did?
Yep, Pixar's little lamp.
The little lamp that jumped in.
And who wasn't, when we were growing up, every Sunday, everybody watched the Wide
World of Disney. Yeah.
Wide World of Disney. Yeah. The little Tinkerbell came in.
Yeah. And did that. So I loved this. You did. It was you gathered around the TV and you watched that and then talked about it and that kind of thing. So I loved what he did. He also was really wanted to hear from his audience, like how it affected them, and he would learn from them. It's all about emotion, a little heartbreak, Disney's famous for Bambi,
your mom's going to die if you're in a Disney.
That's right. And it's the same with Spielberg movies. Yeah. But, some of the other ones like Donald Miller, he's a really great storyteller. There's some other people that I really enjoy learning from the stories. But I tell you, one of my favorite books still is Creativity, Inc., which is the story of how Pixar was founded. So I think those kind of people. And then my dad, as a great storyteller, he was a preacher for over 36 years.
I think this is the first time you're admitting that you're a PK live.
No, I've talked about it before. Because
PK, everybody.
Because when he would I would watch him ever since I was in church every time the doors were open, but he wouldn't just hammer home just scripture from the Bible, but he would talk about like stories, and he'd weave that in, and he'd use humor with that. And I think that really influenced me a lot as well.
Yeah. I would say two of my favorite storytellers, visual storytellers, Wes Anderson is so amazing. And I don't know if I've ever talked about Wes Anderson movies, but you cannot top him in a visual, like everything.
Of his movies by just looking at it.
Oh,
you see a couple frames of it and you'd be like, oh, that's Wes Anderson.
So. And he's not necessarily recognized award-wise for what he does, but he has a cult following. He always uses the same actors. It's really cool. And then another one of my favorites is John Chu, who has Wicked coming out this week. Yeah. But I love Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights. Both of those were stunning. The wedding scene in Crazy Rich Asians. Did you ever watch that movie?
Yeah, my one that stands out from him was the pool scene. Was that
the pool scene and In the Heights when it was like, oh, it was crazy.
So I wanted another one I didn't mention, and it's kind of weird for visual storytelling, but you can't have one without the other. And there's a really great documentary that just came out about this person over on Disney Plus, and it's John Williams. I loved his music, and it was really cool because Spielberg said, when I hear Johnny's music, I look at my movies in a different way. He influences me. Yeah, and so I'm like, and he was making the point, like Jaws would not be what it would be without that thing. And it's a fascinating way he tells stories with music. He has those themes that like weave through it, and I love his stuff. So that's, if you haven't checked that one out, it's on Disney Plus. It's the John Williams documentary. It's so
I haven't checked that out. I will check it out. That reminds me, just that little piece that you're saying reminds me of another movie and visual storyteller they love, which is Nancy Meyers in The Holiday, when he's explaining the movie and the music, because one of the characters is a composer, and he says, name these two notes, and it's dun dun And
Yeah.
then you're into the scariest movie
Yeah.
ever. And he
Yeah.
talks about how the music fits the people and the characters. And but Nancy Meyers is another one because her visual storytelling is so different because she's a woman, and like every single thing in her set is like the room has to do with a character, and like the house looks like the character, and the holiday especially, like Kate Winslet's in the little cottage, and then Cameron Diaz is in the big Hollywood, LA home, and just like how different the houses are represent them. And
It's really cool.
It
Yeah.
does really like inform a lot of the things that you do. And I saw some behind the scene things from Wicked where like every single thing in the scenes, it's like labeled. And he did that in The Heights too. Like in The Heights, when they're in the salon, all the products are labeled, and they make it like you're really in this other world. So you can imagine, as an actor, I mean, Hollywood missed out on Jeff and I being in their movies, but
Yeah, but we learned a lot.
they're doing okay without us. I don't know how.
They seem to be. They seem to be. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how storytelling is really visual and auditory. Like there's a lot of aspects to it. So what do you feel makes a good story? What are the key ingredients that captivate audiences and keep them engaged?
So I think a good story has to be, number one, relatable, and it's got to be surprising, and it has to be. I think it has to be emotional as well. So you think about every Pixar movie starts with this kind of ordinary character that you root for, and then I mean it's the story, the famous storytelling journey. Then it goes into extraordinary circumstances, takes you along for the ride. You have tension. I like to lean into the humor stuff because I think humor is something that we all want, and it's something that it kind of gives empathy to the audience. And then you have this ending, and then if you can do all those things, even in short form, we're talking about for small businesses, sometimes you have to move things around and maybe have the hook at the beginning that really captures them. But if you think of the stuff you're putting out for your small business as a part of your story, I think that will help a lot. And then if you can sneak in a talking dog or a cowboy with abandonment issues, that's even better. So,
Cowboy, just random cowboys.
yeah, just throw a cowboy in. Like, don't call him, call him not Woody, call him something else, like Bob.
So we have already mentioned Pixar, but they are definitely known for their incredible storytelling. What lessons can small business owners learn from them for their own marketing?
So I think they have, if I can remember from the book, they have rules of storytelling. Make it personal, show the real messy human side of your brand. And I also think you got to remember, Pixar is big, but this was a big deal. They were taking on classical animation. They were poo-pooed by everybody. And I think there's a place, I love classical animation. I love all those old ones. But they didn't play it safe. They didn't become where they are now because, this was totally new technology. It took forever to render those scenes.
Yeah.
Their stories work because they're very nostalgic and universal, but they're also deeply specific. You got a guy who floats his house with balloons and goes on this adventure, but has maybe probably the most emotional part of the movie where you're seeing that montage of his wife living life with him and then passing away. I mean, that one, you still hear that piano music that is so famous, and you're just like,
that movie just,
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that one does grab you.
and I think that small business need to figure out what their little tagline is too, because you think about Pixar, especially Toy Story, it's infinity and beyond. Everybody knows that. And so what is your tagline that would work, that could encapsulate what you are about, your story as the small business in a little like tagline or something? And that takes some work to figure that out.
Yeah, it definitely does. Before you can get your story, you really have to get down like kind of what your brand voice is and all those things. But the story of your brand doesn't always have to be so deep for a small business. It can be really like why you started making the jewelry that you make. Or it can be like, the story of like how you got started. I was thinking about my daughter's just going to beauty school, and she's gonna start working on her personal brand. So I was like pre-thinking like what her story would be, for her because it's very hard to stand out in the beauty industry online. Obviously there's a lot of people, and a lot of hairdressers already, they're already on there. So how do you like get people to, be interested in what you're doing? And part of the storytelling in the beauty industry is people love to see things from beginning to end. Like someone getting a haircut, they like the before and after. Like this is what the hair was before, this is what the hair is after, or like makeup tutorials, like the get ready with me makeup things are so popular because people are just fascinated watching like from the beginning of end to things. There's a show that my husband likes to watch that's called How It's Made. Have you ever seen
Oh
that
yeah,
show?
I love it. It's a great show.
God,
Yeah.
he's obsessed with that show. But you know, if we go back to Mr. Rogers, we loved watching when he would
That's
take
right.
us to the factory and we saw how Crayola crayons were made. Like that was really cool. Like Mr. Rogers was really
he knew
great
what he was
at
doing,
storytelling. And he, again, like he did the opposite of what everything else was on TV. He was like, I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to have some nice jazz music.
Right.
I'm
And play
going
the
to
piano.
have
Yeah.
I'm going to use some puppets and there's going to be a little turn. Like it was very simple and the basic elements of his show never changed.
Right.
You know, he always
and it connected with people. They
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, still, it's like, oh, he's so good. So some of that, like that you can work in, like, you know, for your small business, you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. You can just
Right.
create a thing, and that can kind of be your thing. Like it doesn't have to be crazy. Rethinking everything.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that the brands can like connect more and deeper with their audience. So I think it's you share stories that people can see themselves in. So I've talked about them before, and they're still going and they're still growing here in my local town of Longview. It's this place called Shivers, and they sell snow cones, and they are going gangbusters. But she does such a good job of taking you along in their journey. Like for example, I never thought about this, but it makes perfect sense. They used to sell out of an Airstream trailer. They now have that Airstream trailer, but also a building where people can go in and eat and stuff. Because it's snow cones, they were attacked by bees, like swarming bees around everywhere, which, you know, it's sugar waters, like that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so she was telling the stories of how she's trying to get rid of them. She's called beekeepers in. And so please don't go in here, that we made this space for you. And so she was sharing her struggles, and you could empathize with that. Like I raised bees, but I never thought of like, if I had a business, I have to be careful of this time of year, because she says every year at this time this happens, and this was the worst year ever because we didn't have any rain and they were kind of starving.
Yeah.
So that drew you in.
And also bees, we need them. But
Yes, we need bees.
If it's crushing your small business, you got to come up with a solution.
Figure it out. But also she did another great thing where they just got able to show, they have these things called shiver sticks, which are these little things that they put in there. They were able to sell these now at home games at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, which is huge.
Yeah.
And so she was like, she did a little reveal of something special, and she brought you along on that journey, and you were rooting for this company because you were
Yeah.
like, this is great. This is really cool. So I think those kind of things, if you talk about challenges you faced and, you know, customers you've helped and wins that you've had, you know, people do not connect with logos. They connect with people telling their story. So I think, you know, behind the scenes stuff you were talking about too, introducing your team. Don't be scared to share a mistake or two. I mean, I've had to do that a lot of times too. So, but I think that realness is really, really huge for companies and small businesses.
I definitely think it is too. And, you know, small business owners have such a unique journey for their business because it's something that was like their idea. They came up with a whole concept. Obviously, they're super passionate about it. So stories coming right from the person whose idea it was. Even going back to Canva and the beginning of Canva. I mean, they still talk about their beginning journey because they're not a small business anymore. But at the beginning, they were a very small business, and there was like 3 founders, and you know, they founded it in Melanie's mom's living room, and you know, the whole, you know, basically this a very similar story to like Google starting in the garage in Silicon Valley. You know, humble beginnings can be, you know, really a great place to start. So I love small business owner stories, and I think everybody loves seeing their local people and learning it a little bit about the, you know, who they are. So how can small business owners use storytelling to humanize their brand and connect more deeply? So what part would you think would help them? The verbal part or the visual part? Like, what do you think?
I mean, verbal is good if you can do it. I think the visual is maybe a little bit easier. So I think it's anything that sparks like emotion. So like something that gives a good laugh. I'll go back to Shivers again. What got me interested in their brand is they every year in front of their Airstream, they would sell out every day because they have special, like, it's natural stuff, and it's kind of that.
It's hot in Texas all the time.
It's hot in Texas.
So.
But they'd sell out, and they would always have on their Instagram posts, they would always have a little kid with the last ice cream cone looking sad and saying sold out. And I just thought that was so clever. Mm-hmm. That was funny. It was nostalgic because it was like ice cream, or snow cones and stuff. And it was funny because the kids would make face. And of course, all the parents and everybody who knew that kid would share it on their profile. So, I mean, it was brilliant how it resonated. So I think those stories, or even stories like, we talked about the bee thing, overcoming adversity, things that you were like aha moments, something special where you could show off a client, like going the extra mile for them, like if you're a flower shop, going the extra mile for their wedding because they're out of these certain roses, so we did this instead to make it special for the bride, all that kind of thing. Being able to tell those stories of what you do, not just like, I offer these services, I have these flowers, I do weddings, but telling stories around those, I think, is what's really key.
Right. So what type of stories resonate the most? I think you just kind of covered that and how they can incorporate those. So basically, everything that Jeff just says, but kind of translate it to your small business. So it could be a situation where you kind of brainstorm for a little bit and just sit down and say, okay, like even just looking up the basic story elements and then how to relate those. And then you can use trends that are current trends. Trending music is very good to add as an overlay to your story. It's good to kind of work ahead a little bit and create things, and then you could do the music at the last bit. Do you do that with yours?
Sometimes. So I was going to ask you, Peg, when you talk about trending music, because it's different on different platforms. Let's say TikTok versus Instagram. Where do you go to find that? And I know it's in the book, but where do you go to find the that music that's trending? Like, some people may not know.
I usually go on Instagram. So on Instagram, there's a little section. I don't know if it'll pull up I don't know if you'll be able to see if I do it, but there's a little section when you're going to post. Actually, I think it was even in my professional dashboard this morning when I was in here. Okay, so in your professional dashboard, so you should have if you're a business, you have a professional account, and it says professional dashboard. And then you scroll in there, and then at the bottom, in the tips and resources, see where it says trending audio?
Okay,
so you can just click on that, and then it shows you all the things that are trending right now. So what I like to do is I just kind of give them a listen. If I like it, I just save it. I just save a bunch in there. If I have something that, like today I posted one for my book, and I created that actually like a couple weeks ago, but I was like, I love this, but it was like a friend's meme, so that one didn't need extra music on it. It already had the sound. So sometimes your things have the sound. So for Instagram specifically, I like to go in and I just look at the trending music in there, and it has them listed. Sometimes if you hear the song, like if you're scrolling through and you hear the song a second time in your feed, you're like, okay, that's trending. So you can just click on the Instagram post or story itself and save it from there. So I kind of like gather things up as I go, and then the trending audio is only going to trend for like a week-ish. So if you're going to use those, you can use them right away. And if you're creating something on that day, like say today I didn't have sound, but I was going to use, I created my video and I just had it in drafts, and then I would go in and I could add the music today to get something that's like in the top 3 of trending, because the trending music really does still help. And the same in TikTok, you can find trending music in there, and also in the CapCut app, you can see trending memes and things in there too. So there's a couple different places depending on where you do it. It's a little bit weird because you pick what's trending, and that doesn't. Instagram and TikTok don't have the same trends, because obviously they're two separate things, but a lot of people are cross-posting content between those. So they could be similar. But yeah, that's what I usually do, is either I'm working on the video in CapCut, or I create things in a bunch of different places. I have like a not exactly streamlined workflow sometimes, because sometimes you start working on it and then you can't really do what you want. Sometimes I'm working on them in Canva in like a little template in there, but then I don't do my music in Canva, because you could do your music in Canva that would just have like nice background music, but you won't have that trending music. So sometimes I'll just save it and upload it. And then I do my music actually in the apps, because all the platforms love you to use their apps to create stuff. And I never make the full thing in Instagram anymore, because I've had situations where I've seen, I mean, I'm lucky that draft was there today, knock on wood. And also I've had things where I scheduled in Instagram, and then it didn't post, it got frozen, and I couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, you have to delete
So it's always dicey when you're trying to.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy, because you are using part of the platform when you tell it it's gonna, you want to use this trending audio, so you're using that, and then but you also have the backup that you're creating it on someplace else where you can save it, such as Canva.
Just in case, if I need to like because I had to do that a couple times, and thankfully I had the text outside of there. So sadly, I don't really trust. Do you ever make the whole thing in there?
No, and I actually, if it's a long text post for a client or something, I actually will copy it on. I never type it all in the phone. I always copy and paste it for somewhere else, just because
you don't want to have eight typos in it.
Yeah, and then it'll also just go away, and you're like, I just wrote that whole thing, and it's gone. So.
Yeah, and then you got to cry, and you're like, I can't even. It was like the best thing you ever wrote. It disappeared.
Exactly.
I'm always like, it was so. Oh, this is perfect, and then, psh, and you're like,
gone.
wait, yeah.
Exactly.
We've all been burned a little bit. Okay. So, for someone just starting out, what's one actionable step that they can take to tell better stories?
So I think it'd be starting with your story, like your story. Why did you start your business? What makes you, why was this small business attractive to you? It may have been something like you think is not exciting, like I inherited it from my father. Well, tell his story, like how he started it, or his grandfather. It's been in our business in our family for 30 years or whatever. And then what gets you out of bed in the morning, besides coffee, of course, but what gets you out of bed? Why do you do what you do? And write it down, and then share it, with your audience. Like, think of some ways. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to make it perfect and all this, write all this flowery prose. Just tell them why you do it, and take them along with you on the ride. So write it down, share it with your audience. I think this is another Pixar thing. You can start with like once upon a time for a prompt. Like once upon a time I did this, or every day I blank, one day blank, one day in the life, because of what I did, this happens. Like we talked about the flower shop earlier, like, oh, the red flowers, there was a shortage. We didn't have enough. So we did this instead. And then until finally this happened, we were able to do this. Like until finally we were able to clean up the bees, and now we have this space just for you guys to come in out of the heat and have your snow cone. So those kind of little frameworks kind of to prompt you to be thinking about it. And the cool thing is, I know small business owners are the most busiest people in the world, right? They're trying to do a gazillion things. They're their own marketing department, usually their own service department, all this stuff, that the bookkeeping's all them. So I know you guys are stretched for time, but use tools like voice memos in your iPhone. Like if you have an idea when you're making a delivery, or you're doing some packaging stuff or whatever, capture it. You got to capture it, because it'll go away and you'll forget how great of an idea it was. And now with this new iPhone stuff that actually will transcribe that, it's just really great for capturing ideas. So throughout your day, just, try to be mindful of, okay, how can I tell this story? Or this might be a good story to tell. Or this customer story, she came in and said this, and we were able to do this. That would be something I could talk about for 20 seconds on a vertical video. And start just thinking proactively on how you can do that.
And also, while you're going through your day, just take photos and take short little videos, and just create this little bank of stuff. And then later you can stitch them together. You don't need long videos, and it doesn't have to be your face all the time. But behind the scenes stuff is so great. Like behind the scenes jewelry, like where someone I saw this girl, she makes like beautiful stuff. She has this beautiful studio. Like, it's so great to see people's workspaces. Again, we're a little bit nosy, and we like to see people's, oh, where did they make that? Or how do they make that? So just take some time to just do little videos. Feels awkward at first to try to create your own, it's called B-roll, to create your own B-roll for things, but there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube and on TikTok for how to create just some really easy B-roll. And then you could just put text over it, or you could just add a little phrase over it. It's really easy to just create a little bank. If you created a little bank and had like 10 or 15 things in here, you can remix those a ton of different ways. Nobody's going to say, didn't I already see that? Because they're not going to remember. Even if you use the same exact clip, 2 weeks later, no one's going to know. So And if you feel like you're just like you really can't do it yourself, have someone help you, either, someone in your family or someone that, works with you to just help you film a couple of those things and just have them to work with. And you can use them in CapCut or, even in Canva, wherever you like to edit your videos. Canva's just so easy to keep all your stuff in there. I really like it. Just load all the videos and photos and put them in a file and you can create a little folder in there and then just pull them out whenever you're making something. So you don't have to think, okay, I need to post something today. I need to take a photo. I need to do this. Authors always have tons of photos of their books,
right.
Bookshelves, which just, I'm looking across the room thinking, I never even took a picture of that bookshelf. Those,
right.
You get into the habit of of doing it, and then it gets easier. So
yeah, and you don't have to think about voiceover or whatever. Just even if it's a simple video of a product, try to get at least 10 seconds. Just hold it there for 10 seconds so you'll have enough space to do stuff later with. Right. I just kind of get in the habit. I always try to even if I click on my record button, that I at least let it go for 10 seconds, just because I don't know how I'll use it later. So having that length kind of can save you some agony later. It
seems weird too. 10 seconds when you're recording seems like about 2 minutes. And then when you go back to edit, you're like, why is that so short?
Right. Yeah. It's great to, especially when you're doing product stuff or product shots or, try to, and even if later on with a video editor, you can give them and they'll love you for that, having a little bit more time. So just try to hold it for 10 seconds and kind of do a little bit of movement, and that will really help you later on.
And you can definitely do it all on your phone too. I mean, it used to be that businesses had to have everything perfect and photos had to be perfect. And now it's really kind of like the on the go.
Right.
There's the trend of the blurry photos. People are taking using a traditional camera and the photos have a little blur to them. And so it's definitely Gen Z definitely likes the real time content.
Yeah. And you're right about. So there's a new thing, and Ecamm gave me one at Creator Camp, but they're those disposable cameras that we used to have we would use, but they're rechargeable and you can download them digitally. My daughter stole mine because she loves it. She loves taking those pictures because you can't see it until you download it and put it in there, and it has this really cool film effect on it. And so, use what you got. Give those out to your customers or your clients or your workers in your t-shirt shop or whatever, and have them take pictures and have them use it. So it's a really great idea.
Yeah, I saw an article yesterday that was saying that EGC is going to be the new thing for 2025, the employee generated content. So asking your employees to help. If I could do that with the company that I work for, I would be I would be so happy if I have one person that sends me photos out of 22 or 23. That's so cool. Having people help, having employees do it, there's a lot of different ways to create a folder and keep them all in there and just keep reusing them.
Yeah.
Not right out day after day, but just spread them out.
And I would even incentivize them in some way. Hey, we're having a contest. Sure. You can do this. You'll get a bonus or a free gift card or, Starbucks, whatever. But incentivize them to do that. Make it a contest like you were saying. I think that would be a great way to get them doing it. And also make sure, and I know Peg's big on this, make sure you have all the rights and releases that you need for whatever employees. You do. Yeah.
Yeah, because even though they work for you, you're still asking them for the rights too, if they're in the video. I mean, and there has been cases where employees have done TikTok things, and a lot of times they've gotten fired.
Remember that it was a couple of years ago.
Sherwin-Williams guy.
Yeah, the paint guy, and he blew up, and then they shut him down, and then everybody was like, "That was the dumbest thing you've ever done," because he was big and you look like jerks. So
yeah. The guy liked his job at the paint shop.
He did.
So if Walt Disney were creating content on Instagram today, what do you think his strategy would look like?
Walt Disney on Instagram. Well, he's super visual. I think he'd be all in. I think he would have a killer mix because he's got so much content. Even if you just stayed at his classic stuff, like Bambi through the Rescuers and all the
Rescuers.
I think it would be a killer mix of carousels for storytelling. I think he would show behind the scenes because he loved that. You remember in the Wonderful World of Disney when he was building. I still watch the things when he was building Epcot. He was showing what they were going to do.
Or he'd say, "Hey, this is Mary. She's one of the animators at Disney. And
Yeah.
she'd go, hi. And he'd
Yeah,
go,
it was so
show us
fun.
what you're working on today. And she'd be like, I'm drawing.
Yeah, there's a real famous one where he was talking about the Haunted Mansion when he was putting that together. And so I think he would be like, I love stop motion that I see on Instagram. I think he'd probably have a stop motion series. I think he'd also be commenting people because he was always in the park. He would sit down with employees and ask them like, what could they do better? He would pick up trash himself. He'd see a piece of like a gum wrapper or something and he'd go and pick it up. I mean, so I think he would be active on Instagram. I think he'd do the DM stuff. I just think he'd make his audience feel like they're part of something magical.
He did do a great job of really roping you in. I mean, his weekly show was the biggest advertisement. Families were dying to go to Disney World.
He was genius. And the thing is,
this was when everybody didn't go, FYI.
Right.
That was before families went on vacations
Big
across
trips.
the country with your whole family.
And the genius thing, this is a little repurposing thing for small businesses. He did it for the World's Fair first. So like It's a Small World ride, and some of the dinosaurs were for I think it was a GM, one of the big cars places. But they had to pay to build it, and he put it to the World's Fair, and they were sponsors. But then he took it back, and he used it, and then like even the Carousel Progress, which is still there, he took it from the World's Fair and made it an attraction. Like the company bought it and paid for it, and he took it back. He even took like the sluices where the water goes through for It's a Small World. I mean, he repurposed everything. He was genius in that way. So I really like Walt for that.
He had a lot of really great skills. What tools or techniques do you recommend for creating visuals that enhance storytelling?
So I like tools like Canva, which you mentioned. Adobe Express is great because I think that can help you create some really great, scroll stopping visuals, even if you're not a designer. So that's a big thing. It's like I think Canva is in most small businesses' toolkits right now. I just really think it is. I'm a big fan of Ecamm for live video. I think it's storytelling in real time, just kind of like what Peg and I are doing here. We are like bouncing stuff on. Oh, I have an idea, and we talk together. We talk over each other. It's really, I think it's really organic, and I think people really like that, and I think it's going to grow because of the advent of AI, and people want to see and really know their brands and people. So I think it's going to be really cool. But also don't underestimate the power of AI. I really like Midjourney. DALL-E's baked into ChatGPT if you're using that, so you can make unique images that stand out. So I think whatever tool you're using, the key is to make your visuals support the story you're telling, not just to look pretty. Don't just make a flashy piece of artwork. You want to have it be part of the story that you're telling.
Very good. Do you have podcasts? You have other shows on AI too, right? So if people want to check out more on visuals for AI, is your class? Are you working on your class for that?
Yes, I have the Descript course that's in beta that people still sign up for to help like with repurposing, and it's AI based. I also have a free using AI to create pins for Pinterest. That's a free course that you can sign up for. I think it's at jeffc.com. But it's so, and there's another one coming. I'm going to be speaking on it next year a lot. So I'm going to have another little course on AI.
Cool. I think people definitely need that. I started out like when you did, creating images and things, and then I totally stopped. I created some things that I really liked, but it still isn't there for like.
But you still create a lot of cool stuff. I mean, even your Instagram and your branding and stuff.
But I hardly ever use the AI stuff anymore. So I would like to get back in there, because I had an idea and I was using it. Another writing idea. I was working on a children's book idea, and I created like this really great teddy bear character.
Oh, I remember that. We worked on it a little bit.
Yeah,
together.
but then I don't know how to make it do the same one all the time.
Oh, there's some cool stuff now.
I don't want to animate my whole book with it, even though I know people have done that. But I just kind of want to have like the storyboard for it.
We'll talk after, because there's now a character reference you can put in Midjourney, and it'll keep that character reference throughout your whatever you're prompting it. So
Midjourney was my favorite. That was the one that I liked the most.
Yeah, it's my favorite too.
I like to go in there. I go in there with my grandson and make characters for the game that he likes. Because he like, make me a guy, and I'll like make him guys that look like a guy. So he likes obscure characters.
You know what you should do is now make that character and then do a face swap and have his face be in that character.
They don't actually have faces. They're Pikmin. I don't know if you know the Pikmin game.
No, I don't.
They're just little plant. They're little solid color guys with like plant heads. So someone was creative that day.
Yes, they were.
There are some people in the game, but that's what he likes best. So what's one piece of advice you'd give to small business owners looking to improve their skills right now? Like, what would you say? Okay, they listen to this and they're like, yes, I definitely want to do that. So what would you suggest?
Practice. So just like riding a bike or mastering, me barbecuing the perfect brisket, storytelling, it gets better with time. You're going to have to start small. Do it. Say you're going to do it once a week, right? And it's going to stink the first time you do it. You're going to be embarrassed and you're going to look back on it later and go, this is awful. But try it and be consistent and see how your audience reacts. Do they really like the behind the scenes stuff? They're like, oh, I didn't know you did that. Or so you want to really pay attention to what resonates, and then you kind of want to tweak your approach, and then keep experimenting. And then, every good story has trial and error. I guarantee you Pixar has done stuff and they scrapped entire stories because they didn't think it resonated or was as good as they want. I think there's a famous one. I can't remember which story it was, but they scrapped and deleted all the rendering that they had done so far on it, because when they got together as a group, they talked about it and it was like, this isn't that good. And they went back and cost a lot more money, but they did it right. But every good story takes a little bit of trial and error, and I think that's how the best ones are actually made.
And also, when you are coming up with your main hero story for your business, obviously you're not going to be recreating that. That's going to be your main thing.
Right.
And then you would just retell that in different ways. So once you nail down your main brand story, that's going to stick. Right. And then you're just building little stories to go around that. So
exactly.
I hope people really got a lot from this. I thought this was amazing. And obviously, I like talking to you, Jeff, so this was super fun.
This was fun. Thank you for having me.
So next week, I have Christina Bartold, and we're going to be talking about community. She is amazing. So I'm excited to have her on, and that will be the last one in my pop-up series. So I'll be sharing more from these, and I'll be sharing, obviously, clips from this and creating a blog post and a podcast and other things from this live video. So thank you so much to everybody who is watching. I'm going to go back and try to catch the comments, which I didn't see a way to catch them in Riverside. So thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And thank you for your book. It's amazing.
You just reminded me. And if you are watching till the very end, my book is available now anywhere that you like to get books. If you waited till it was live, which a lot of people do, people don't really like pre-orders. They like getting it right when they can get it in their hands. So if you order it now, you'll get it very soon. And this will help you with how to market your small business online. So
it's amazing. It's an amazing
you.
book. It's not a thin book either. It's a thick book. It's got a lot of great content. And there's a great little in the back where you can references and all sorts of stuff. So it's a really, really good book. So if you're a small business, you need this book. You really do.
Thank you. Thank you for watching.